So you're injured in a car wreck. It wasn't your fault. You're going to get a settlement, but how do you make sure you net as much money as you can? Well, that depends on who your attorney is. Richard Griffin with the Griffin Law Firm is here to explain, okay, what does that mean to net as much as you can?
Well, there are a lot of things that go into that. I mean, first of all, you've got how much you're going to get from the insurance company. So that's going to involve having an attorney who knows how to negotiate aggressively, fight for every single settlement dollar that's there, or litigate if that adjuster is unreasonable. I mean, that's the first step. But you know, a lot of times people have called me and said, hey, I've had a bad experience. I had an attorney who got a lot of money, but when it was at the settlement disbursement where you're getting the check that you're going to net after the attorney's fees and after the medical is paid, they didn't get much of anything. And they were heartbroken and they were terribly disappointed. Well, that's something that I never want my clients to experience. You know, I want to do what's right and what's fair. And that means that there are times where we're going to have to get reductions, and we're going to get reductions from the doctors involved, and sometimes very big reductions, sometimes as much as 50% or more. And if someone is going to net less than me, and we're not going to have to litigate that case, litigation's a long process and there's typically big cases and lots of insurance. But if it's one of those situations where we're making the best out of a difficult situation, we're going to reduce our attorney fee in that case to make sure that my client doesn't get the short end of the stick.
I love that word, reduction.
Yes.
Reduction is good. Okay, you have an example of a client who this happened to.
I do. He was involved in a very serious accident. He was hit in a T-bone accident. He was going straight and someone turned left at a traffic light. He was very seriously injured, didn't have health insurance, and needed to get medical treatment. Well, there was a $50,000 liability policy for the negligent driver. There was a $30,000 UM, so there's only $80,000 that we can get. He needed a lot of expensive treatment. So we got him with a doctor that would treat on lien, and he had $70,000 in medical treatment. So $80,000 and $70,000 are difficult numbers to meet, especially when you're going to pay an attorney. So we got involved and we got a $35,000 reduction. And he still was going to end up with what I say is the short end of the stick. He was going to get less than my attorney fee. So I gave him an $8,000 reduction so that he would get $21,000. If we hadn't been able to get the doctors to reduce, and if we hadn't done a reduction, he would have been $16,000 or more short. So he would have owed money. So we were able to get him $21,000 when it was a difficult scenario.
And then don't even think about lost wages, which is another whole thing. And so we're going to hear from him.
Yes, absolutely.
My medical bills are astronomically high. 877 pain law was able to get those drastically reduced, some by over 50%. Mr. Griffin personally reduced his attorney fee by over $8,000 to where I would receive more in my settlement. Couldn't ask for any more.
That is more than fair. Now, so you do this for all your clients when there is no litigation involved.
That's exactly right. You know, if litigation's involved, then we're going to be in it with them for a year and a half or longer. And typically there's going to be a lot of insurance. Those are cases where an adjuster is being unreasonable. But if we have situations where the case needs to settle, it's not a good one to litigate, which typically means that there isn't enough insurance, then we're going to need to really roll up the sleeves and get those reductions from the medical doctors and my attorney fee. We've even gotten cases where there was $300,000 in medical and we got that reduced to as low as $8,333, and that put $8,333 in the client's pocket and got the hospital bill taken care of and got the attorney fee paid as well. So that makes a huge difference.
I can imagine that you hear stories of people who have been to other attorneys who they end up in, like you said, in the hole because once they pay you guys, so it all depends again, as we always say, on who you call.
It does. You know, you shouldn't pay 40% if litigation is not required. That's another thing. We're a third. So, you know, the fee should be fair and reasonable, and that means in those cases where you need to make the ends meet, we're going to do that to make sure it's fair for our clients.
Great advice. Thank you so much, as always. Don't forget, to get the help you need, contact the Griffin Law Firm. Call 877-PAIN-LAW. You can also log on to 877painlaw.com.